Now?
Now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
We're so happy to be here, and let's scoot ourselves a little closer together so you can see all of us. I'm FullDeck.
I'm missing a few cards.
And we'd like to, first of all, give a thank you to everybody. Sorry, Meme, you go right ahead.
Yeah,
My apologies. I
Memeristor.
cut you right off.
No worries. Go ahead.
I was just going to say thank you to all the donations that have already come in. We've been trying to keep up with them in chat, but we've got so many screens going on, it's hard to see. The total that you're seeing of what's been raised does not include any of the matching donations that are being made, which will be up to the first, up to 500 for the first 50 of each donation that comes in.
So we're pretty close to that.
We're already there. So, and Mike Osman was the most recent donation that we're seeing on our end.
Very
thank
generous.
you.
Thank
Very
you.
generous $200 donation. The first 50 will be matched by an anonymous corporate sponsor.
Yeah, and we don't have any specific puzzle, or we don't have any specific donation incentives in this block, but as far as I'm aware, you can donate to other incentives in other blocks during this time. So check out the SudokuCon.com/donate to see what you can donate to in future blocks, and then tune in at those times.
And thank you, Miko Kisai, who's already given some subscriptions, and also to Sally M for a couple of donations that just rolled in. Both of those will be fully matched. We're going to have, this is so exciting that we've got so many donations coming in, but we've got things to say other than just thanking people as those come in. So we did want to give you sort of a preview of what's going to happen in this block. We're really excited to be co-hosting, co-emceeing with Memeristor. We've really enjoyed watching his interviews of setters. If you haven't checked those out on his channel, please do. He's got some really fun interviews there. We've learned a lot about setting from watching his interviews of really fine setters.
Yes, check them out, please.
Yes, please. We wanted to tell a little bit about the class that we are have been teaching and will be continuing to teach, but we really want the being interviewed by Memeristor experience, so we thought we'd let him ask us a few questions about that.
Yeah, so we have some students coming in, FullDeck and Missingafewcards students from their Sudoku and puzzles class. So that should be very interesting to get their perspective on more of a structured introduction to logic puzzles and the like, and setting in general. We're going to be solving a bit, more interviewing FullDeck and Missingafewcards, and we'll be joined by James Sinclair. Thank you. Mine went blank for a moment. And Bremster later in the 4-hour block once Bremster awakens from the Australian slumber.
Indeed. So we have a bunch of students now. We do go to a school. We teach at a school that is rather heavy on what Missingafewcards likes to call American hand egg, which others of us call American football. And there is a home game today for our team. So our students will be coming in shifts, and we have 3 or 4 of them here right now, but we baked for them this morning. So they're in the kitchen right now enjoying cookies and sausage rolls and various things, but we'll be bringing them back soon. One of the students that'll be coming in is maybe a familiar face to you, Lumos, who's done several guest solves on Bremster puzzles. So let's
most recently a Barbie solve.
Yes, most recently that. So there's a question in chat. We see, how similar would our class be compared to Zeta's? We actually have not had a chance to talk to Zeta Math about the class that he does. We really would like to have that conversation. It's just finding the time to do that seems impossible sometimes. But I think that'd be a really fun. Yes, please, Zeta Beth. I see you're in the chat now. That would be fabulous. But we will tell you a little bit about how we run it. But actually, what we want to do is have the students tell you most of that through interviews, through Memeristor asking them questions and leading them in conversation. But the ones who are here early, some will be leaving, and then we'll have other students coming in. The students will be here today. Some of them have been setting for about 18 months. Some of them have been setting for about 2 weeks. So there's going to be a range of experience in terms of that. Some of the students who will be here had never done variant Sudoku before August. So they have, September, October, 3 months, less than 3 months of experience with variant Sudoku at all.
But
And
they're doing a great job.
they're doing a great job, and they set their first 9x9 Sudokus on Wednesday.
Yes.
Is that right? Yes,
Yes.
Wednesday. So, yeah, we have some more donations that have come in. Let's take a moment and thank people, and then we'll bring some students in. So, Prof. Meow, thank you for a very generous donation, $200 there. Again, 50 of that will be matched, and the matches are not showing up in the amount that's been raised.
I think our wonderful producer Glipperall would appreciate me asking you guys to reload your camera quickly.
We can do that. All right.
How do we do that?
Some wonderful donations to turn on the lights, as chat says.
Yeah, it's been working perfectly, and now all of a sudden it goes away. Well, we have students here. We have Lumos and we have Chaos. I know that all of you would like to be able to see Lumos and Chaos. But I'm going to suggest that perhaps we go ahead and talk to Lumos and Chaos while I scramble furiously to see if I can make something else talk to guest star in the background and switch things around.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Hello,
a little context
Lumos and Chaos.
Lumos took the course from us a year ago, and blah, 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 blah. Chaos is a current student in our course that started this August. So, Chaos and Lumos, Meme, it's all yours.
All right. Either one of you feel free to chime in whenever. We already have sort of an introduction of where you're at. I'm curious, what are your guys' like majors? What are you taking in university?
Well, hi, it's Lumos. I am a computer science major, and I'm a senior this year, so I'm graduating this year. So, yeah.
This is Chaos. I am a biochemistry and genetics double major, and I'm a freshman. So, starting new.
Interesting. What made you guys want to take this class?
I've been solving Sudoku since I was in like 3rd grade. And I took Missing's class in linear algebra a while ago, and a lot of people recommended this pairing of professors as a place to be. So I was like, okay, I love puzzles. I had a good time in linear algebra, so I was like, let's just come and take puzzles, and I had a great time. So I've just been here ever since.
Yeah, I started elementary school as well. Just I've never seen the variant Sudoku until now. I saw the course in the course catalog, and I got a few recommendations from some of their old students. So I said, why not? And just joined.
Have you regretted that decision?
Not one bit. I love this class.
Clover had a question. Lumos, did you ever do variant Sudoku before joining the class?
No, I had done one puzzle with thermos before I came to the class. So I was aware that it existed. Maybe like a killer cage puzzle or two, but really like this was my first time kind of like diving into it.
Right. What was your reaction to finding out your linear algebra prof was a puzzle on aficionado?
It's not surprising, but it's like having a double identity, you know, the Sudoku names, and it's pretty cool.
By night, the
Sudoku.
Sudoku. Yeah.
Wait, in the sky, it's the Sudoku signal.
Yeah.
How were your like preconceptions of Sudoku or other logic puzzles sort of challenged by this class?
For me, I mean, again, having never seen the variant Sudoku, I've had to learn a lot of new methods and ways to look at like the variants. But I think my base knowledge of just normal Sudoku has definitely helped and given me just additional perspective. But I really enjoy I've taken a lot away from the class, and just new ways of thinking about everything, pretty much, like even outside of the puzzles class. Just looking at things from new perspectives.
For sure. Before you chime in there, Lumos, I just want to thank Dogs Making Woofles for donating $500. That's crazy.
Whoa.
I just noticed that. Wow. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. Well, I was gonna say that, like, I feel like solving puzzles, like, so I'm also part of the research side of this course where we're setting puzzles for students to help teach math resiliency from a young age, which I think is super cool. So
Yeah.
I think that, like, solving Sudoku and, like, being this involved in the community, like, it's changed my perspective because it shows, like, how something that's, like, just like a fun, like, logic game, it can be a hobby, can also be used to, like, help teach logic as a, like, greater thing, and then, like, also to keep people involved in this cool community. So
Yeah, it's interesting how it sort of teaches you to think in a different way, a lot like computer science, actually.
yeah. I think half of our class the first semester was computer science majors, and even now I think we have a huge percentage of computer science majors comparatively. A lot of us like logic puzzles and stuff like this.
So is that sort of the demographic that takes that class, or is there any like outliers, art students or whatnot?
I think we have people from all over. We tend to have, like, mostly computer science, a good number of engineering, but then last year we also had a music technology, like, major, like
Nursing major.
a
Interesting.
nursing major. So it's pretty varied, but I think it leads heavily toward people who are studying this or studying things like this.
How would you guys describe setting to someone who has no previous knowledge of it?
Well, to be honest, I definitely need to practice my setting skills a little more. It is a little difficult. I think definitely reviewing just normal puzzle, like variant Sudoku first, like seeing the different pathways you can take in setting or solving them first and understanding how to solve them definitely helps on, like, what you need to look at when you're setting, like specific ways to think about it and what
sure.
someone might need to look for. So I just recommend getting a list of things that you would want when you are trying to solve and keeping that in mind while you're setting.
Yeah, I think that's good. Like, I feel like I don't think you can become a setter without playing a good amount of it. I don't think you have to play forever. Like, you started playing for the first time in August, but you have to, like, get into the feel of, like, what you like. I think it also, like, I tend to write a lot of puzzles recently that have, like, fog constraints and whispers constraints and, like, various lines because that's what I like to solve. So I've become, like, better at setting those types of puzzles because I know how you think through them. So, like, for a brand new setter, I would say play first, play a lot, figure out what you like, and then it's easier than you think it is. It's hard, but it's easier than you think it is.
Yeah.
Because, like, anyone can make a puzzle. It doesn't even, like, before I took this class, I didn't believe that people were setting these. I thought these were all computer generated. And then, first day that we decided to set a puzzle, we set a 4x4, and it's like, oh, okay, I can set something, even if it's just putting some digits in first and then, constructing a flow around it. It's easier than you think, but you have to start. It can be hard though, especially when you're trying to set something that has, like, truly cool logic all the way through beginning to end, and it's the difficulty you're looking for. Like, that can be really difficult, but just making a puzzle is a great place to start.
Do you think that, and this relates to a different question that I wanted to ask, but do you think that the sort of culture around cracking the cryptic and the general Sudoku community, mostly setting 9x9s, is sort of pushing people not to set as much because it's so difficult to just see how you would even do that?
I don't know that it's necessarily the setting of the 9x9s, like, that would, like, make somebody think that they can't set puzzles. I don't know. I think in my head, before I ever started playing, like again, I didn't even know people were setting these to begin with. I mean, maybe if they set more of the like smaller puzzles, but smaller doesn't necessarily equal easier either.
Right.
So yeah, I think that like in terms of like cracking the cryptic, I think they do a good job of solving puzzles that are like, some of them are crazy hard, and then some of them are like, okay, this is like an attainable puzzle that I can solve. And because they're doing like multiple levels, I think it makes it a little bit easier to envision, okay, maybe I could set something like that. But I do think it would be interesting to try like seeing if they were to step out into maybe even just more 6x6s, because 6x6s I think were such an easy place for me to start to like really get into setting them. So yeah.
Yes, when we introduce the students in the class to setting, we always start with 4x4 and say just pick one constraint and see how the information can flow around the grid, and get the idea of starting in box 1, pushing information around, making deductions around, and seeing how to make the puzzles flow. And once they've done a handful of 4x4s, we move them up to 6x6s, still with only one or maybe two constraints. And then after a couple of weeks, we move them to 9x9. So we have a fairly structured way of introducing them to it, which I think helps with the fear factor of, oh my goodness, you want me to set a puzzle? And I remember being terrified at the thought that I might have to do this by myself. And then one day I just did it. And I think FullDeck describes it nicely as I went into beast mode for a couple of hours.
I think in a matter of under 24 hours, you set 8 puzzles.
And some of them were okay.
Yeah, indeed. So, yeah. We haven't done any chaos constructions. 99% sneaky. We are terrified of chaos construction as solvers, and it would probably be very good for us to do some chaos constructions as setters, but we have not done that ourselves, much less in the class.
And we actually don't give extra credit for anything.
Right.
We have the students argue for their grades. We have an ungrading policy where we don't say, okay, you have a 97% for now, and if you get a 23 on that assignment, you've passed the course. We have the students make a case for the work they have done in the semester, and usually they argue too low.
Yeah.
But we found it quite successful in terms of motivating the students to do a lot of work and to reflect on what they've done.
Yeah,
And
to see their own strengths and value.
And certainly if they set a chaos construction puzzle, they could use that as an argument for the grade they're arguing for.
Yes, a chaos grade.
Yes.
On that note,
Yes.
we think we have a way to get our camera back, so we're going to go to a quick tech break, and hopefully we will be back with video in just a moment.
Okay.
Then you.
Hello.
Yay! We
It's a
exist.
little laggy, but we're here.
Well, and it's also, let's see if we can get the two of you in
I don't
frame.
see them yet, but
Oh, we see them on this.
That's weird.
It's very behind.
They're real.
actually.
That's right. Microstudy. They're real. So
Oh, there they are on
yeah.
the stream, but I can't see them.
So maybe you can introduce yourselves again now that they can see you.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Lumos. Yeah, my camera's a little bit behind, but I'm on the left side, the right side, whatever side. I'm wearing gray.
Let's see.
So
We can.
I'm Chaos. Yeah, camera's definitely behind.
it's funny to watch it because it's like 20 seconds behind. I've never-
Here, I'll hide that window so you don't have to
Yeah,
see
it's
it.
all-
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'll look at this one and pretend like it's all just fine.
It's weird.
All right.
All right.
While my
Good.
heart rate comes down and I come out of panic mode, we'll see if we can settle in.
All
No
right.
laughs on the move. They've actually not just been a blank square the whole time.
I guess this is the perfect time to get sort of a less puzzle-related question, more of a get-to-know-you question. If you're a vegetable, which would you be and why would you be that vegetable?
Which vegetable would I be and why? I don't even know which vegetable I like the best. I feel like I'd be a carrot, but I don't really know why. I just like when you said that, like my brain went, I think I'm a carrot, but I don't really know why. I like them, so
Mine went to tomato.
Okay.
Also don't know why.
Wisdom is knowing that the tomato is a fruit.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Use is knowing how to put it in fruit salad.
Edamame is like probably my like peak favorite there.
Isn't that a legume?
I couldn't tell you.
Just joking. Yeah,
I think you're right though.
those labels are so silly. How I saw earlier in the chat someone asked if there's any dirt on missing a few cards in FullDeck that you can share.
I don't think so.
Now, about that grade you're asking.
That's right. They haven't argued for those grades yet, so no.
No, they really just like setting puzzles and solving puzzles. That's really all we do in class.
Oh, I don't know. There's some jokes that happen.
Yeah.
So how does the class run? Like, well, what's an example of a class? Like, walk me through it.
Okay, well, I'm in the research class. So in our class, there's like different groups of people working on different groups of things. So it's kind of like a time for a small group meeting on like what are you working on, and how is your thing progressing. I'm on the setting team, so it'll be like, what puzzle did you set this week? And that's kind of my meeting. And then what about you in the puzzle class this semester?
Yeah, in the class, we usually start with warm-ups if we have time. It really depends on when everybody gets there. And lately we're working on setting, so we've kind of just been setting with a partner or other people, just the majority of the class, but it's pretty free reign most of the time.
Yeah, it's pretty free reign. We can kind of work on whatever it is we're interested in at the time.
So the class is not just Sudoku. We started with cryptic crosswords, which seems appropriate for the channel too. And we've done some work on paradoxes. We've given that a little bit of a short shrift this semester.
Yes.
We
keep saying we're going to come back to it.
We do, but then we get sucked into the variant Sudoku part of it.
Yeah.
I love variant Sudoku. I had a great time for the rest of the semester.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to sticking.
So you already mentioned the fact that we do this ungrading thing. So they argue for their grade, and so one of the things that we really want them to focus on sort of is being aware of what contributions they're making, how they're learning, how their own learning is advancing. And so often, especially in the puzzles and paradoxes class, we will sort of say, take a moment and think about, write down, what have you done? What have you solved? What have you set? And right now they're also working on writing up solve paths, because we think that's a really important part of it, is being able to communicate mathematical reasoning. And we see variant Sudoku is very, very mathematical in nature. So, Zeta Math, you do something very similar. Awesome. We really, really do need to find some time to talk about your
Everything.
puzzles class and our puzzles class and all of it. Yeah. So, absolutely.
For the students, how much time do you spend out of class, like thinking about puzzle stuff these days?
Well, before the class started, I think I was solving like a Sudoku. I used to solve like regular Sudoku whenever I was stressed out. So like I would like start like solving whatever, and I'd spend, I don't know, I would do like a couple of puzzles a week. But ever since I've started now I solve the daily puzzle on the Cracking the Cryptic Discord. Plus I don't know, I solve all the time now. So I spend so much time. My parents are always like we'll be at dinner and my parents will be like, oh, whoops, Lumos, put down the phone. And my
You can out
secret
yourself.
identity. Yeah, I guess I'm outing myself. Anyway, they'll be like, put down the phone. You have to actually pay attention. And I was like, I am paying attention, but also this was a really it was grist around the gossip mill. That was you guys' puzzle that got me in trouble with my parents because
so
I
sorry.
was solving it for so long, and then I was like, hold on, it's sucking me in. So. I solve constantly.
I do too. I spend probably more time working on just mostly Sudoku outside this class than any other class, which is probably not I need to manage my time well.
Yeah, we need to talk to you about that.
I spend a lot of time. It's really fun because I have a long list of especially FullDeck and Missingafewcards off your website. I have solved a lot of them and continue to, and I'm trying to move on to more setting now, so I get more used to it. But a lot of time. I'm not opposed to it.
So do you like setting or solving more, I guess? It's a related question to that.
I get sucked into solving more. So like I can like sit there and solve for hours. Whereas like I tend to set, like if I'm gonna set, I sit down and I set during like a period of time and then I leave it. But I can't leave when I solve. So I think I like solving more, but I like both.
I agree. I'm definitely more leaning towards the side of solving.
But you're only 2 weeks into
Yeah,
setting.
you're only 2 weeks in. So.
Yeah, that is true.
We'll suck you in properly soon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I sent you guys a miracle Sudoku that I tried to set last week. So if
We
you
tried
haven't
it.
looked at
We started it. We have
We need to look at the solve part.
Okay.
we're kind of stuck.
I really
So-
enjoyed that one.
So
Yeah.
one of the things we try and do is to get the students to learn how to set doable puzzles. I think early on they realize it's easy to set difficult puzzles, and it's easy to set good puzzles, but it's not necessarily easy to set good puzzles that aren't difficult, where there is a nice flow to the solve, and the setter is what is the phrase? It's the job of the setter to lose, but to lose gracefully.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And setting a puzzle where the solver comes away and goes, I really like the flow of that puzzle. That is hard to do. So we usually point them at Clover's setting video that was on the Cracking the Cryptic channel a couple of years ago, and some of your interviews, Memeristor, have been really helpful. And listening to how other setters have learned these things.
Yeah. What's funny is I find it easier to set easier puzzles because I can go from the beginning to the end while I'm setting it.
But you've learned
And
that.
so
now.
yes, I have learned that. So like I love setting what Brimster would call like coffee break puzzles. Because I start from the beginning and I know exactly where I want to go from beginning to end, versus like harder puzzles. I have a little bit of a harder time like setting a good hard puzzle, but I can set a hard puzzle. So that's my goal is to like I'm working on a puzzle pack now that I want to span a couple of different difficulties. So I'm working on my hard puzzle setting.
And we have a nickname for your class. I don't know whether we're going to use it for the current class as well. One of the first puzzles the class set together was really ugly.
It
Yeah.
was.
It was yellow, and the class decided it was an ugly duckling.
Yes.
And so as a class, we decided the students would be the ducklings, and we would be Missing Duck and the ducklings.
Yes.
And we're beginning to try and put together a whole bunch of puzzles for a puzzle pack for Bremster. And I believe possibly tomorrow he's going to start releasing some videos of a few recent puzzles that they've set.
Yes.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it is. So watch out for Sudoku U, Sudoku University, in other words,
Yes.
on Bremster's YouTube channel.
Let's have a quick donations update.
Holy cow!
Yes. So, among other things, I saw scrolling past Clover noting that we've hit the incentive for extra cursed puzzles, which I'm terrified by. So
So we'll
but
leave
that's
that
very
to the.
exciting. Yes,
leave
that's
that to
not
the
part of
solving
our
part.
block. That will be later. I'm not sure exactly when that comes in. But where are we on donations total?
It looks like $1,446.10.
And that doesn't include the $500 match. So
I
we're
suspect
just under
we probably
2,000.
hit the $500 match by now.
Yes, we definitely have. I've been keeping track of that.
So thank you to the anonymous corporation who sponsored that,
Yes.
and thank you to everybody who's allowed us to squeeze that out of the anonymous corporation.
Right. Exactly. And if we hit the $3,000 target in our stream, then
Yeah, they never can go home.
everything else is great. Right? So, no, we wouldn't do that to everybody. Don't stop donating. We're very excited to see all of this happen. The gas team, of course, is up next after our stream. So we're pretty excited to see where that goes. We're going to be staying logged on as viewers after our stream.
So I see a couple of questions in
Yes.
the thread. Mostman79 asked, what was the context of the class? And also says, I wish my uni had a Sudoku class when I was there. So the context is we teach a class in our honors college, and the honors college likes people to run seminars on interesting things. I've been teaching, I've taught a class about infinity. I've taught a class about great stories in mathematics. We taught a class together on singing the songs of unsung women in mathematics. So we got to design the class. It hits all sorts of critical thinking targets. And so the Honors College is quite happy to have their honors students take it. What else did I see? Saw something. Where was it?
I've also been trying to follow along.
Yeah. Oh, how do we set? We use FPuzzles and we use Sudoku Maker. We certainly get the students to download all of Rank's extensions in Tamper Monkey and his solving software.
And I'm going to,
Yes.
we're getting a request. Can you scoot so that you're more on camera? So,
Me.
yes, you.
What about you?
Well, you're the one talking right now, so you scoot in. So,
Okay, there I
you
am.
are.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're oh, that's too far.
Yeah.
Tech wizards here.
Yeah.
Give that a moment, see if that corrected it. Would we ever consider doing an online version of our class? I could see doing not an online version of the class, perhaps, but certainly putting out a Discord. Here's come learn how to set.
Maybe we should talk to ZetaMath about that. Maybe maybe something that the three of us could organize together.
And maybe with Clover too.
And maybe with Clover too. Okay, I'm scooting in, Ratfinks, but there we go.
So there was another thing. How do we set? We use FPuzzles with Rank's extensions, and once Sudoku Maker was released from the alpha version into the beta, and we were allowed to tell everyone about it, we started telling them about Sudoku Maker as well, because I think they're both fabulous setting platforms. I like them both in different ways. So we definitely don't set on paper. We do set on the computer. We definitely rely on technology in ways that would not have been possible 10 years ago, probably. You have anything to add to that, FullDeck?
I'm sorry, I was responding to something in stream because I trust you completely to cover everything that needs to be said in that response.
Fool.
So,
FullDeck. Okay.
I'm actually responding to ZetaMath, who is saying about his course meeting one of the requirements, a creativity requirement at the university. And I was just saying that we're hoping that we can get a course approved to meet the ways of thinking mathematics portion of our general education curriculum. But then the issue becomes what do we do to make sure that it is taught in a way that is true to the spirit of what we're doing with the puzzles class. So, yeah. Okay, so Memeristor, more questions for the students? We've been talking too much. We get excited and we talk over them. So we're going to zip it for a few minutes.
No, don't worry. Talking is good. Talking is what we're here for. So you guys have had a very structured introduction to puzzling. Do you think you would have gotten to where you are without this sort of structure? Or, I mean, a lot of the people in chat and setters in the general community have learned puzzling and setting in pure chaos.
I definitely don't think I would be where I am. I think they do a good job teaching us what we need to look at first and just starting from the basics and building our way up instead. Because I know Missingafewcards, you talked about in class, like how when you guys first started, you would set you'd throw random things maybe into like FPuzzles and just like it'd be all over the place in terms of like when you're trying to solve it, but then you become more structured as you learn like how to set and how to solve and what you need to look for. So I think
Shrink the camera window.
I also know that I would not have like I definitely wouldn't have gotten this into it if it hadn't been for the class, because like I said, I was already solving puzzles. You'd already solved Sudoku, but neither one of us had ever found our way to variant Sudoku somehow. Like, I was just using whatever, solving the normal, I guess, places you go, like Sudoku.com or something. And I didn't even know that variant Sudoku was a thing. So I don't think I would have gotten there because I just didn't even know it was this, like, started me on my path entirely. Maybe I would have eventually found it, like if I got really bored of solving only classics, like maybe I would have asked the question if there were more, but I don't think that I would have.
Bit more.
Try it.
It's very interesting. Do you think there's anything that could be done for the general public so that there's a little bit more structure in engaging them with puzzles or puzzle setting?
I'm sure.
I think other than just like advertising and just getting it out there, like I know Cracking the Cryptic has and Memeristor, their YouTube channels definitely have quite a few things that like resources in terms of like introducing new setters and solvers to those like upper level variant Sudokus, but I think advertising would be the big thing.
I think I agree, because the number of people I know who really like puzzles of like various varieties and probably really would like variant Sudoku but just somehow don't know that it exists is like way higher than it should be. So I think advertising is the
I think also there's a distinction between solving, and Cracking the Cryptic does a great job of getting that out there, as does Memeristor and Zetamath and various other people. I think that a lot of people find the idea of setting extraordinarily intimidating.
yeah.
And that's where it has really helped, I think, for our students to have us say, no, you can do this. Yes, it's going to be scary for the first little while, but you can actually do this. Oh, we're all on camera.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Finally, I've been trying over here in the background to respond
Well
to this. So yeah, full camera. We had.
I mean, maybe one thing that would help, sorry, I just like started to think, would be like in terms of advertising, like there's not that many people who set on camera, and like does anybody want to set on the fly and show people what that's like? So I think that would be one way to advertise that everybody can do it.
Yeah.
If you try it out.
Well, and one of the things that we're doing with the project that we have ongoing called 9x9, which Lumos is part of when she's talking about the research class that she's taking, we're trying to get Sudoku puzzles, variant Sudoku puzzles, carefully constructed ones, into the hands of fifth graders, fifth, sixth graders, to sort of try to boost math identity as they are going through the middle school years. And so actually Clover has set a pack that we've been testing, several packs, but several sequences of packs, but one that we just had a really lovely experience where the students in Chaos's class were paired up one by one with fifth graders, teaching them to do variant Sudoku, or working through these variant Sudoku puzzles that Clover set. And so we have some really fun feedback on that. The students were super enthusiastic and wanted more, and we really are excited about the potential for using sort of some informal learning settings, and possibly even developing out some bonus curriculum type materials that teachers could pick up to use in their classrooms that could get students hooked on variant Sudoku early. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I see that Dreaming Librarian said, can everybody set? Like, don't you have to have an idea first? And I would say you do not have to have an idea first. For instance, like in our very first puzzle, like we said, we set 4x4s, and like my very first puzzle, I quite literally just stuck some digits on there and an interesting pattern and clicked to see if it was solvable. And if it was, then I was like, cool, I set a puzzle. And then once you've started, that's how you go, oh, okay, I see that, I can, maybe I have an idea of like a particular like break-in I want to set, or like maybe I really liked the way that I solved this puzzle, and then I like the way this constraint worked with this other constraint. Maybe I'll throw some in there and see what happens. So it's like it can be pretty creative. Like sometimes it's just throwing things on a screen and seeing if you can make it something that you really like. And sometimes I come in and I have like a reel. I'm like, oh, I know where I want this break-in to start, and I know where I want to go. But sometimes I just put things on the screen and mess around with them until I really like the way that they flow.
And one thing I'm hearing in what you're saying there is that you have started understanding how to set with intentionality.
Yeah.
This is one of the things we try and emphasize early on, is that it isn't just taking constraints and randomly putting them down, but actually thinking about the way the information will flow around the grid and how you can point solvers to the next step in the solve path. One of the things that we found helps with this is to have students think about fog puzzles, which you mentioned
Yeah,
earlier.
that's my
Because
favorite set.
you have to go to the place where the fog lets you see something.
Yeah.
And so you can lead the solvers down the garden path by the hand, as it were. And I think that helps the students better understand the intentionality aspect.
New to this.
Chaos. Yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry.
Wow, me too. It's all right. I think, well, for now, I'm still in that like chaotic setting stage. To be honest, I've kind of been going off of like, oh, this looks symmetrical. Oh, I like how this looks. Let me just like put some extra numbers there, killer cages and whatnot. I'm still trying to learn setting with intention, but I think we'll get there, especially with how the class is being taught and like the steps you need to take, what you need to look at. And I think honestly, the next step for me would be trying out one of those fog puzzles, because that would definitely force you to set with intention and looking at what can be like the next step. So, yeah.
And the Luke Skywalker 2 says, where do you set fog puzzles? We use F puzzles, but we also use the ranks extensions that like you can find if you Google that. So that I think that's where you actually pull in the actual like script that will let you run, so that you can make fog puzzles specifically. But yeah, so I've definitely learned start. The first thing to do is start if you're interested in setting a puzzle, and it doesn't have to be the best puzzle ever. Your first one, it can be just something that you put together. But once you've gotten into it, you can learn how to really set intentionally, and I think anyone can learn it.
And one thing we've been thinking about doing is putting together a setting video. We sat down with another member of the Discord server, the CTC Discord server, 6 months ago, and they said, how do you learn to set? And so we talked through setting a puzzle, taking screenshots of F puzzles as we went, and talked about the way to use, I think it was cages, to pass information around the grid. And we've thought about doing a setting video based on that puzzle. So keep an eye out for that if you want to learn how to set.